What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here today for another weekly sports card market update. And today is the first full day of the NFL season. We were supposed to have nice weather in Northeast Ohio, low 70s, have those windows open, lay down in the old reclining chair, sit down, watch some Browns Bengals. You could feel that fall starting to creep in around the edges. Good times. Good times. Get to whoop Ziggy's butt in fantasy football this week. We'll talk about that at the end. That way, if you don't care about the content creator fantasy football, you could check out. We'll save that for the very, very end of the video. But busy week in the hobby. It is, like I said, it is the first full week of the NFL season. We've obviously already had one games in the books with the Lions coming up the big winner. Mahomes looking a little shaky without all his pieces and parts. We'll touch on a couple football cards today, but nothing crazy since I did the big quarterback deep dive on Saturday's video. If you missed that, you go ahead and swing back and check that out. A lot of new stuff in the hobby this week, mostly drama related. We'll talk about that as well. Dive into some baseball charts and graphs and talk about some new releases in the baseball world as well. First up, today's video is sponsored by our good friends over at COMC.com. Check out my cards. I have been using them pretty heavily a good chunk of this year. The way that I tend to like to use them, I know a lot of people buy singles on that platform and flip them, and I'll do a more in-depth video on this at some point in time. But I really like to send them like my lower end stuff and just kind of move it. I've sent stuff that I've done well on, make a couple bucks on. I've made some mistakes on sending stuff as well that I took, 10, 20, 30 cent losses on. But in the aggregate overall, I am doing pretty well over there. And what I'm doing is taking that money, and it's kind of twofold, using it to build up a little bit of a nest egg to chase some Marvel Masterpieces singles, and then also occasionally picking up a PC card. Like, I've been sending in cards for a couple months now. You can see I even got some in the queue down here, and a perfect example, I picked this bad boy up, 280 bucks. I've been looking for one of these Haley Steinfeld autos forever. One popped up on there at a good price, so I went ahead and snagged it. I actually graded this through CGC and already got the grade back and the card in hand. I just haven't had time to go over it in a pickup video. So if you're looking to buy, sell, the whole 9 yards, grade, go over and check out our good friends over at COMC. Like I said, a lot of drama this week, as always, in the sports card world, but even more so than normal this particular week. Two big, the one story I'm not actually sure is big. And I'm using the royal we here, have turned it into something crazy that I kind of jumped the shark, in my opinion. The first one's the card porn one. That one's pretty legitimate. This story just continues to go absolutely wild. More and more stuff is coming out every single day about the various scams that Mr. Garcia has been running all over the place outside of sports cards. And it feels like there are more and more dominoes to fall on this whole thing. And I don't know if this is so big that it kind of like takes down, like, do companies get wrapped up into this? Because there's been a lot of authentication companies being called into question here. Are they doing their due diligence really before they're certifying this stuff as what it is? Or are they just kind of half-assing it so it could go for sale on their platform and they can make their 10 or 15% or whatever? That's what I kind of worry about here, is like, as these dominoes start to tumble, and some of them are pretty big, does this have deeper ramifications, specifically on the high end, whether it's game use stuff or just things in general? And it really starts to make you question a little bit of everything. Like, if these companies are being a little shady on how they're photo matching $1 million Michael Jordan jerseys, what makes you think that they're going and doing their super due diligence on a game used napkin patch on a random Panini or Topps card? You know what I mean? Like, it just really starts to make you wonder about some of this stuff and how deep the shenanigans really run. And to be quite honest, it's probably deeper than any of us really want to know. And I guess that's the thing. when we talk about this stuff, it's kind of like, do you really want to know? It's like the card cleaning thing. Do you care that your card was cleaned if it gets slabbed as a PSA 10? Do we really want to know? I did a video on that a while back. Like, do we really want to know? Do we really care? As long as it says a PSA 10 and I could sell it for 3x the profit, does not everybody, but like a majority of people probably just don't care, right? As long as they're making their 50% margin, 60, 70% margin, it's more about the money and the return than it is about the actual good itself or the collectible. And I'm going to use collectible very broadly here. I don't know, just a weird space right now with everything that's going on. So dominoes continue to fall. There was another Revell story on this about this guy doing massive eBay scams in addition to everything else. Fake Banksy photos. I mean, those are $1 million, hundreds of thousands of dollar photos. So there's just things falling. Dominoes continuing to fall all over the place with this one. The other thing that happened this week in the drama category or the clickbait category, whatever you want to call it, is the chasing cardboard nonsense. And I'm just generally curious for those that view the channel and just kind of take in YouTube content in general. On a scale of like 1 to 10, how much do you care about the chasing cardboard? I'll just label it as drama. I don't really necessarily care what side of the fence you come down on it, but like, are you wrapped up and riveted in this? There's been a trillion videos made about this whole situation. And honestly, this is my second time recording this section of the video. The first time I went into a 10 to 15 minute long side tangent of content creation in YouTube and negative content versus positive content. And I looked down at the timer and realized how long I've been talking about it. So I know someone in the comments once said your famous last words are that'll be another video. I think that just needs to be its own separate thing that I need to record and talk about because, like I said, I wasn't even finished and I looked down and saw how long I had been talking for and was like, well, that's not the place for this. This is supposed to be quick hitting stuff. So look forward to something like that, but just taking your all's temperature on this whole chasing cardboard fiasco. Do y'all really care one way or the other? I really didn't talk about this the first time through. My general take was, I think I talked about it in a weekly sports card market update. That was pretty stupid. They probably could have handled that better. I'm going to say the same thing now with their vindication video in regards to getting some of the autographs authenticated, not all of them. I still think it could have been handled a little bit better, but I also don't know that it needs 157 videos breaking it down. No offense to anyone that made content like that. Some friends of mine did. I don't really care. You know, you do whatever you want. It's your channels. Me personally, I didn't think it rose to the level to create a video. That's just me. Was that a mistake? I don't know. In hindsight, I feel pretty good about not really getting super deep into the weeds of this months ago or a month ago when this all first happened. Like I said, I think they kind of messed up a little bit. I don't think it was the end of the world. It is what it is. But curious for your thoughts and comments on the whole chasing cardboard nonsense. And then maybe we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive sometime this week about negative clickbaity content in the hobby, if that's something that you would be intrigued about, kind of from a content creator's standpoint, since I have a little bit of insights on that. Let's talk about some new releases that came out this week or are coming out this week. Topps Chrome Sapphire went up for pre-order. They did a lottery system on this. I entered. It was max 2 boxes. I ordered 2. I got the email that said you won. It feels like most people got one that said they won. I did do some impromptu Twitter polls, and it does seem like there are some people that definitely did not win, but the majority of people that entered got one. If you experience something different, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. They're going for slightly above what you could have bought them for on Topps. I think my order total was right under $500, like $475, $480 for the 2 boxes. They're reselling on the secondary market for a skosh under $300. There's not autos. The checklist is massive. It's Sapphire, so people always want Sapphire, but it is not a home run product, I guess, shall we say. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my 2 boxes. If I'll rip them, sit on one, rip one. I'll probably end up opening one and sitting on the other one and just kind of see what happens. So maybe look forward to a Sapphire box opening later this week and kind of see how we do. The biggest problem is that the checklist is absolutely huge. I'm sure singles will do very well. They'll be popular at Sapphire. Sapphire is always very popular, but from a rip perspective, it is definitely risky. We will leave it at that with a 600 and some card checklist in the thing. 2 parallels per box, I believe, on that one. The other product that comes out later this week is 2023 Bowman Chrome. This also went up for pre-order a couple of weeks ago on Topps' website. I passed on it at the time. This came up for pre-order when Marvel Masterpieces hype was at the all-time, and I basically looked at it as, do I want 2 boxes, 3 boxes of Bowman, or do I want another box of Marvel Masterpieces to rip? And I chose to rip another box of Marvel Masterpieces. So I am not made of money. I had to make a tough choice, and I went for the fun factor versus the air quote investment factor of 2023 Bowman. I am no Bowman expert, so I have not sat down and done some crazy deep dive on the checklist on this. It does seem like there are a couple pretty big chases in it, and they're doing the whole retro fractor thing in this. So if you want a Babe Ruth first Bowman, I personally could care less about that stuff. We'll see how single prices do on this. But this product will come out this week. I'm sure it'll be popular. I'm sure it'll be hot. I don't know that I'm going to buy any of it. We will see. Maybe I'll snag a hobby box if I can find one at a decent price. If I was going to get one, I probably should have just bought one at the pre-order price, but is what it is at this point. So I may not have anything crazy with 2023 Bowman. Maybe I'll just wait for Sapphire to come out and try to grab a couple boxes of that. But that product comes out in full later this week. Let's go ahead and dive into market movers. Link in the description down below if you want some charts and graphs. First up, football. My man, prime time. I shouldn't say my man. I've never really been a Cowboys fan or a Falcons fan, but I always like using Deion in Madden back in the day. Who didn't? Deion Sanders is a coach in the NCAA now. That game is actually has not happened yet at time of recording. I'm recording this a little earlier in the day on Saturday than I typically would. I have a birthday party and some family stuff to do tonight, so I wanted to get this out of the way. So I don't know what happened in their week 2 game, but Deion Sanders is essentially a coach now. They had a very productive week 1, and his card prices jumped because of it. This is his three of his main rookie cards: the Pro Set, the Topps Traded, and the Score, all in PSA 10. You can see the yellow line here. That's the Score. That's the expensive one. Got a pretty hefty jump. This is actually, I went back 1 year because I was just kind of curious. His Pro Set is up 82% year over year. His Topps Traded is up 46% year over year. And his 89 Score is up 35% year over year. With really most of that happening in, if I just kind of back this off, you can see the last 30 days, 80% increase, 40% increase, 20% increase. It's just interesting, him now being a coach all of a sudden is affecting his secondary market prices. Now, does this hold if they lose a bunch of games or are mediocre or the whole 9, whatever, who knows? We're kind of in uncharted territory here, but this just feels like an artificial pump, I guess. I don't necessarily mean that in the negative way. It's just the eyeballs are on him. He's in the limelight or in the spotlight. He's getting a little bit of a buzz. That's probably most likely going to wear off, and his prices will probably return back to semi-normal, maybe slightly higher than what they were before. But are you buying into the Deion Sanders hype machine? Also in the world of football, Brock Purdy. I don't know how I completely forgot putting Purdy on the 2022 quarterback list yesterday when we looked at 2022 quarterbacks. So I figured I would throw him up in here real quick. His Silver Prism Raw from 2022, currently going for $150. Over the last 90 days, up 30%. Obviously, he's a little bit more secure in that job now with Trey Lance being gone. It's just him and Darnold. Not that Lance was really much in the way of competition. But we'll see how Purdy does. You know, the preseason reports have been a little all over the place on him. He's got Darnold looking over his shoulder. I think he is perfectly fine. I don't know that he's going to light up the world, but they don't really need him to. They just need him to basically be peak Ravens Joe Flacco. And that would be a very good outcome for the 49ers. Can he be better than that? Can he be worse than that? We'll see. Time will tell. I am not a huge Purdy believer from a card perspective, I guess. I think he's a really good real-life NFL quarterback. I don't know. I shouldn't say really good. I think he'll be a perfectly adequate NFL quarterback. I don't know that that's going to translate to huge card prices. We'll see. I guess if they rack off a bunch of Super Bowls, it won't matter, but not for me. Switch over, talk a little baseball. We talked about sealed product earlier. Jason Dominguez continues to be absolutely red hot, and his card prices continue to go up. This is his first Bowman Auto PSA 10. This card is up 110% from the midsummer. He just continues to absolutely crush the baseball. He looks pretty good. We will see where he goes from here, but the hype meter is out of control on him. And on the flip side, everyone's kind of forgotten. I shouldn't say forgot, but once again, painting with a broad brush. Elly De La Cruz prices continue to cool off. This is his first Bowman PSA 10. There's an outlier sale here. You can kind of ignore that one. It was a PSA 1010 auto that went for way more than it probably should have. His card, his PSA 10 auto, basically peaked at about 1.5 to 1.6K. It is now currently back down to around $900, which is what you could have got it for back in when it first kind of jumped up in price. So it's still higher than what it was in the preseason. Here's back in April. It was a $600 card. It got all the way up to $1,600. It is now back down to $1,000. He's still pretty electric, but to shine his, I don't want to say come off a little bit, but his strikeout rate's creeping up there. His batting average is down a little bit. Still an electric player, still very exciting, and I expect he'll get some heat on him over the offseason and into next season, as he will be the premier chase in 2024 product. I'm sure Topps and Fanatics will do everything they can to pump the absolute hell out of him. Nothing crazy for basketball this week. Let's go ahead and we'll wrap things up there. Get you boys and girls on your way to a week 1 NFL. Speaking of which, I will talk about the Content Creator Fantasy Football League just really quickly here. Like I said, if you don't care, peace. If you do, you can stick around for a minute. We'll just run through this really quick. I play Ziggy this week. I am off to a strong start. I had the Sun God Amon St. Brown as my second round pick. He's already got me a cool 19 points. Ziggy had Sky Moore going for him. Oops. And he had the Chiefs kicker. They put up a respectable 8.4 points combined. That 0.4 out of Sky Moore is probably going to zing a little bit. I am favored to win by about 20 some points. My only real lineup decision here was at flex. I had Christian Watson and he's hurt already, so that's not great. So I subbed in Cortland Sutton. That easily could have been Dalvin Cook or Nico Collins or Tyler Boyd. To me, it was either Sutton or Cook. At the time, right now, I'm going to run with Sutton and just kind of play it safe. I just don't know what we're going to get out of Cook, having missed most of the offseason. So I kind of want to see what he looks like for a week and how that job is split up before I go too crazy. So I'll go with the safety of Sutton. But I think I should crush Ziggy this week. He's got Aaron Rodgers, Saquon Barkley, Najee Harris, George Pickens, Kyle Pitts, Garrett Wilson, and 49ers defense to go. I have Josh Allen, Bijan Robinson, J.K. Dobbins, Debo, David Njoku, Cortland Sutton, Browns defense, and Justin Tucker to go for my squad. So we'll update this. I'll spend a few minutes on this at the end of each weekly sports card market update as we kind of work throughout the season. Maybe give a little standings update once we kind of get into the season. But we are off and running. And once again, shout out to Flipping Steve for putting this together and for sending someone to the National every single year. Enjoy your week 1. That is all I got for you, boys and girls. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.